GM announcing just moments ago it's upping its EV investment by some $8 billion to $35 billion.
For decades, GM stood for trust, pride, and American power. But that legacy just shattered.
The chip situation continues to be very complex and very volatile, but I'm confident our team is going to enable every single vehicle possible to be built.
Behind closed doors, their own CEO exposed the truth. Detroit's biggest name quietly turned its customers into collateral for corporate greed. While workers built the trucks and dealers fought to stay alive, executives made one move that changed the game forever. This isn't a rumor. It's the betrayal of an entire generation of loyal buyers. Stay till the end, because the real cover-up is only just beginning. The Fort Wayne betrayal. There's a Chevrolet dealership 19 minutes from General Motors' Fort Wayne assembly plant. 19 minutes. You could drive there faster than ordering takeout. Yet when a customer at that dealership buys a brand new Chevrolet Silverado 1500, a truck that literally rolled off the line down the road, they're charged $2,595 in destination fees. The exact same fee charged to dealerships in Seattle, Miami, Los Angeles. $2,595 to move a truck 19 minutes. But here's where it gets ugly. That fee just jumped $600 year over year. Not because fuel costs went up, oil prices are actually down. Not because truck drivers suddenly earn more. Not because anything related to actually transporting vehicles changed. General Motors just decided your Silverado costs $600 more to deliver, and they're betting you won't question it. Between the Silverado and its GMC Sierra twin, GM sold nearly 900,000 units last year. Do the maths on that $600 increase. That's $540 million in pure profit, hidden behind a line item called destination and handling. But that's just the warm-up, because when you zoom out across GM's entire lineup, the number becomes obscene. The $2,000 deception? The Corvette, America's sports car, now carries a $1,995 destination charge. The Buick Enclave? $1,895, the GMC Canyon, $2,095, then the heavy hitters. The Cadillac Escalade IQ, $2,390, the GMC Hummer EV, $2,495. Every single one went up, some by $200, most by $400. The volume sellers, those trucks keeping GM's lights on, $600. Now compare this to reality. A Porsche Cayman, built in Germany, shipped across the Atlantic, loaded onto trains, driven through the Panama Canal, and delivered to American dealerships, $1,995 total. A Mini Cooper, manufactured overseas, sailed across oceans, offloaded at port, distributed nationwide, under $1,000. But a Chevrolet Silverado, built in Fort Wayne and driven to a dealer down the street, $2,595. Someone at General Motors is laughing all the way to the bank. General Motors sold 2.7 million vehicles in 2024. Average destination charge increase? $400 minimum. That's over $1.2 billion in additional revenue. $1.2 billion that has nothing to do with delivering vehicles. Pure profit, extracted through a line item most buyers don't understand and can't negotiate. If this kind of corporate madness ticks you off, hit subscribe or we're exposing every day. Now back to it. The real question nobody at GM wants to answer. Why now? The tariff shell game. Oil prices are down. Diesel fuel is cheaper than last year. Truck drivers aren't commanding premium wages. Rail costs haven't exploded. So what changed? Nothing, except the political environment. These destination charge increases hit precisely when automotive executives started reassuring everyone that tariffs wouldn't impact vehicle prices. Ford's CEO said it. Stellantis echoed it. General Motors? They stayed conspicuously quiet about price increases. Instead, they quietly bumped destination charges $600 on their best-selling trucks. This is corporate America's perfected shell game. When you can't raise prices without backlash, you hide increases elsewhere, bury them in fees, disguise them as logistics, make them look like operating costs rather than profit grabs. Because here's what GM won't admit. Tariffs on imported steel, aluminum, and components absolutely affect manufacturing costs. But admitting that means admitting political decisions hurt American consumers. That makes shareholders nervous, politicians angry, customers suspicious. So you create a narrative. Vehicle prices hold steady. Look at the MSRP, but don't mention the destination charge, legally required as part of that MSRP. Just exploded. Most buyers see destination and handling and assume it's legitimate. They don't compare it to Porsche or Mini. They don't question why a truck built 19 minutes away costs the same to deliver as one shipped cross-country. They just pay it. What choice exists? The billion-dollar profit center. Here's what most people miss about destination charges. Dealers don't profit from them. Not a single penny. When a Chevrolet dealer receives a Silverado, their invoice shows that $2,595 charge. They paid it to General Motors. When they sell that truck to you, you pay the same amount. The dealer is just a pass-through. This fundamentally differs from dealer fees. That infamous doc fee appearing on sales contracts? Pure dealer profit. No actual cost, just markup. Destination charges were supposed to be different. They were meant to reflect genuine costs of moving vehicles from assembly plants to dealer lots. GM supposedly averages transportation costs across their network and charges everyone equally, so remote dealers don't pay dramatically more than factory-adjacent ones, in theory. But somewhere along the way, that principle corrupted. Destination charges stopped being cost recovery and became profit centers, places where manufacturers hide price increases without technically raising vehicle prices. Customers get destroyed from both sides. Manufacturers extract profit through destination charges. Dealers extract profit through dock fees. By signing time, you're paying thousands in fees unrelated to actual vehicle value. But if they're willing to do this, with publicly disclosed destination charges, what are they hiding everywhere else? And speaking of hiding things, something absolutely wild was about to surface. The 40% sale. September 8th, 2025. Mary Barra, CEO of General Motors and one of corporate America's most powerful executives, executed a stock transaction that sent shockwaves through the automotive industry. She sold 40% of her personal stake in the company she leads. Not 4%, not 14, 40. To understand why this matters, understand who Mary Barra is. She's not some hedge fund manager flipping positions, not a day trader chasing momentum. She's General Motors' chief executive officer, a woman who spent her entire career at this company, who rose through ranks to become the first female chief executive officer of a major global automaker. When someone like that sells 40% of their holdings, it's not casual, not portfolio rebalancing. It's a statement. The transaction was structured through stock options. Barra exercised options to purchase 607,000 shares at $35.49 per share, then immediately sold 97,000 shares at $58.24. The difference? $23 per share profit. Multiply that across hundreds of thousands of shares, tens of millions flowing into her personal accounts. On paper, perfectly legal. Executive compensation packages routinely include stock options. The idea aligns executive interests with shareholder interests. If the company prospers and stock prices rise, executives profit. Capitalism functioning as designed. What does she know that we don't? The insider activity pattern. Examining broader insider trading patterns at General Motors reveals something murkier. Over the past 12 months, 6 insider purchases of GM stock occurred. Just 6. Same period, 22 insider sales. Most recent 3 months, 0 purchases, 6 sales. Over 1.1 million shares sold by company insiders. This isn't one executive making personal financial decisions. This is a pattern. Multiple executives, all heading for exits simultaneously. Insider sales happen constantly in corporate America. Executives have bills, investments, personal financial strategies. Not every sale signals doom. Sometimes it's diversification, tax planning, buying yachts. But when you see this lopsided activity, 0 buys, 6 sells, you wonder. Because if these executives truly believed General Motors was positioned for growth, wouldn't at least one be buying? Wouldn't someone inside be loading shares, confident stock prices would climb? Instead, they're all selling. The CEO leads the charge. Mary Barra's compensation package last year, $28 million. Salary, bonuses, stock awards, benefits. $28 million for running one of America's largest manufacturers. She doesn't need stock sales for rent money. When someone at that compensation level dumps 40% of holdings, it's strategic, calculated, informed by information the public lacks. She knows whether destination charge increases are sustainable or will crater sales, whether consumers will swallow another hidden price, increase round, or finally walk to Toyota and Honda. And whatever she knows made her convert 40% of GM holdings to cash. Immediately, that should terrify anyone considering buying a General Motors vehicle. The $28 million question. Let's do uncomfortable maths. Mary Barra makes $28 million annually. Not speculation. Publicly disclosed in GM compensation filings. $28 million total compensation for running General Motors. Remember those destination charge increases? $600 on Silverado and Sierra. $400 average across the lineup. $1.2 billion in extra annual revenue calculated across GM's 2.7 million vehicle sales. $1.2 billion flowing straight to GM's bottom line. Not to dealers, not truck drivers, not logistics companies, to GM. Who benefits when GM profitability increases? Shareholders, including every executive holding stock or stock options, including Mary Barra. Here's the uncomfortable sequence. First, GM implements massive increases in destination charges, the fees added to the sticker price of vehicles to cover delivery costs. These hikes generate more than $1 billion in additional revenue. That sudden influx of cash likely boosts GM's short-term financial performance. Stronger quarterly results, in turn, tend to support or even inflate the company's stock price. Then, as the stock hovers at elevated levels, CEO Mary Barra sells roughly 40% of her holdings. In the following months, other executives follow suit, unloading more than 1 million shares combined. You could argue this is simply smart business. Leaders capitalizing on strong market conditions to diversify their portfolios through pre-planned stock sales. But the timing raises questions that are difficult to ignore. And you might be right. Legally, everything checks out. Transactions reported properly. Nobody violated SEC insider trading guidelines. But legal and ethical aren't the same. Transparent and honest aren't either. If you're a GM customer, you're subsidizing executive compensation twice. First through destination charges, directly boosting profits, then through vehicle purchases, supporting the stock price executives are cashing out. You're paying extra so they profit. Then they sell their stake in the company you financially supported. Perfect corporate wealth extraction, all technically above board. The question nobody at GM wants answered: if the company's so healthy, sales prospects so strong, destination charges justified by genuine cost increases, why are people running the company racing to sell stock? What do they see coming that makes them want cash instead of equity? The warning nobody heard. There's an old automotive industry joke. If you want to know what's really happening, don't listen to press releases. Watch what politicians are buying and selling. Members of Congress access information before the public. They attend briefings, receive economic forecasts, know which industries face regulatory challenges or benefit from government support. While legally prohibited from trading on material, non-public information, somehow their portfolios often outperform markets. Funny how that works. When automotive insiders start dumping stock, savvy observers don't just watch executive transactions, they watch congressional portfolios. Because if senators and representatives also sell automotive stocks, particularly domestic manufacturers, it suggests something systemic approaches: regulatory changes, economic shifts, market disruptions, things that destroy stock prices. Individual investors lack real-time congressional trading access. Reporting delays exist. Transaction structures remain opaque. But over time, patterns emerge. When those patterns align with executive insider selling, it's a flashing red warning. We're not alleging explicit coordination, not suggesting Mary Barra texts Congress members about GM's internal challenges, but information flows predictably. Industry lobbyists talk to legislators. Executives testify before committees. Economic forecasts get shared in closed-door meetings. Then people make portfolio decisions. If you're a GM employee with stock options, this should concern you. If you're a potential buyer considering a $50,000 truck purchase, this should make you pause. You're about to commit to a 6 or 7 year loan on a vehicle from a company whose own leadership heads for exits. Customers left holding the bag. Literally, loan paperwork and a truck costing $1,000 more than necessary. The payment shock reality. Here's what $1,000 really costs you. When General Motors increased destination charges by $600 and base prices by another $400, that's $1,000 in additional cost. Most buyers finance vehicles over 60, 72, or even 84 months. Every $1,000 financed costs roughly $20 monthly on a 72-month loan at typical rates. Over that loan's life, you're not just paying the $1,000, you're paying interest on it. Depending on credit and current rates, that $1,000 might actually cost $1,300 to $1,500 by completion. For what? For destination charges that didn't need increasing. discounting. For profit margins, GM could have absorbed but chose not to. Multiply that across every GM vehicle sold. Millions of customers, all paying an extra $20 monthly, all watching monthly budgets tighten, all wondering why they can barely afford the truck they need for work. That's before discussing what happens when these vehicles hit used markets. Resale value partially depends on purchase price. If new truck prices are artificially inflated through destination charges and hidden fees, used truck values adjust downward. Markets correct for premiums. The person who bought that Silverado with the $2,595 destination charge, they'll take depreciation hits when selling. But payment shock wasn't just hitting buyers. It was about to devastate dealers. The dealer's impossible position. Imagine you're a Chevrolet dealer. You've invested millions in facilities, hired sales staff, technicians, service advisors, built customer relationships over decades. Your family name's on the building. Then General Motors tells you the Silverado 1500, your bread and butter, volume leader, the truck paying your bills, just got $600 more expensive through destination charges alone. You didn't ask for this, didn't approve it, you just pay it. Then somehow convince customers it's worth the extra cost. Except customers aren't stupid. They Google, compare, see that Toyota's destination charges are lower, that domestic competitors aren't hiking fees as aggressively, that imported luxury brands somehow ship vehicles across oceans for less than GM charges to move trucks from Fort Wayne to Indianapolis. So what do? You eat margin, discount, offer incentives, do whatever moves inventory, because you've got millions in floor plan financing costs eating profitability monthly. And General Motors, they already got paid, collected that destination charge when the truck hit your lot. Whether you sell it or not, they already profited. This is the fundamental tension in automotive retail. Manufacturers set prices. Dealers pay those prices. Customers decide whether to buy. When manufacturers get greedy, dealers get crushed. Some dealerships can absorb this. Large dealer groups with multiple franchises, diversified inventory, strong service operations, weather temporary margin compression, they'll be fine. And they have a manufacturer that just made their job exponentially harder by jacking destination charges while their own CEO sells stock. The factory floor fear. While executives sell stock and dealers struggle with inflated prices, another group watches this disaster unfold. GM's own factory workers. These are people who build the trucks, who work lines in Fort Wayne, Flint, Spring Hill, who show up daily knowing their jobs depend on one thing: sales volume. They're watching destination charges rise, vehicle prices climb, executives get rich while wondering what happens when customers finally stop buying. Here's the brutal reality of automotive manufacturing. When sales drop, production drops. When production drops, shifts get cut. When shifts get cut, workers get laid off. Direct, merciless equation. Those workers are also GM stockholders. Many have retirement savings tied up in company stock, accumulated through employee stock purchase plans and 401k matching. When executives dump shares, workers are left holding bags if prices collapse. They also see the absurdity up close. They know exactly what it costs to move trucks from factory to dealer. They drive those routes themselves. Watch trucks get loaded onto carriers. Know there's no $600 cost increase, but they can't speak up. You don't criticize your employer when worried about your job, so they stay quiet. Watch, worry, and wonder if Mary Barra's stock sale means what they think. Layoffs are coming. Production cuts imminent. GM leadership decided to extract maximum profit now because they know the market's about to turn. This is corporate greed's human cost that never makes headlines. The inventory time bomb. Walk onto a Chevrolet lot right now and you'll see something interesting. Tons of inventory. Rows of Silverados, full-size SUVs, trucks in every configuration imaginable. At first glance, that looks healthy. Customers like selection. Dealers need inventory for sales. Having trucks on lots means business is good, except it's not. That inventory isn't sitting there because dealers ordered aggressively. It's sitting because it's not selling fast enough. When you combine inflated destination charges with customer payment shock, you get aging inventory recipes. Every day a vehicle sits on a lot costs dealers money. Floor plan financing isn't free. Insurance must be paid. Trucks take space that could hold something actually moving. Now those trucks cost more than last year, which means dealers need higher selling prices to maintain margins, which means customers are even less likely to buy, which means inventory ages further, which means dealers get desperate and start discounting, which destroys margins entirely. This is how inventory crises begin. Not with dramatic crashes, but slow accumulation. Trucks that should sell in 30 days take 60, then 90. Then dealers offer aggressive incentives to move them. Then GM steps in with manufacturer incentives to support sales. Then profit margins evaporate for everyone except the manufacturer who already collected destination charges. Dealers are starting to panic. Not publicly. You'll never hear admissions in press releases, but privately, in dealer councils and franchise meetings, conversations shift. They're questioning whether GM leadership has their backs, wondering if they should have diversified into other brands years ago. The competitor's silent victory. While General Motors was busy inflating destination charges and executives were dumping stock, something fascinating happened across town at Toyota and Honda. They were winning, not through dramatic price cuts, not through aggressive advertising, not through revolutionary launches. They were winning simply by not being as greedy as Detroit. Toyota's destination charges remain reasonable. Honda's are competitive. Even Korean manufacturers like Hyundai and Kia are undercutting domestic brands on total ownership cost. Buyers are noticing. When a customer walks into a Chevrolet dealership, sees a Silverado priced at $55,000 with a $2,595 destination charge, then walks across the street to Toyota and sees a Tundra with lower total costs and better resale value. What happens? They buy the Toyota or Honda or Hyundai. Brand loyalty only stretches so far. At some point, financial reality overrides emotional attachment. General Motors is pushing customers past that point. The shift is already visible in market share data. Domestic manufacturers have bled share for years, but the trend accelerates. Every percentage point lost represents billions in revenue. More importantly, it represents customers who may never return. Because once someone switches to Toyota or Honda and realizes reliability is better, ownership costs are lower, and dealers aren't playing pricing games. They're gone. They tell friends, post on social media, become anti-GM evangelists. This is how empires fall, not through catastrophic failure, but slow abandonment. Death by 1,000 cuts, each self-inflicted. GM leadership saw this coming. That's why they sold stock. They knew the destination charge scheme would accelerate customer defection. Knew trust was eroding, just decided to cash out before full impact hit. Smart for them, devastating for everyone else. The political powder keg. Here's what happens when automotive giants get too greedy. Politicians notice. GM's destination charge increases happened in an election environment. Consumer prices are hot-button issues. Middle-class families feeling squeezed by inflation are looking for villains. Nothing creates political opportunities like corporate excess hurting working Americans. Progressive politicians will seize this as proof that corporate America prioritizes profits over people. They'll call for investigations into destination charges, demand transparency in automotive pricing, propose regulations limiting how manufacturers structure fees. Conservative politicians will use it differently. They'll frame it as evidence that American companies are being crushed by bad trade policy, forced to hide cost increases because tariffs made manufacturing untenable. They'll call for tariff reform while simultaneously attacking GM for dishonesty about impacts. Either way, GM loses. Once politicians start asking questions, things get uncomfortable. Congressional hearings happen. CEOs testify. Internal documents get subpoenaed. The public learns exactly how much profit was buried in destination charges. Mary Barra probably doesn't want to sit before Congress explaining why she approved billion-dollar destination charge increases right before selling 40% of personal stock. That's a bad look even in best circumstances, but it gets worse. Labor unions are watching too. The UAW has been fighting for better contracts, better job security, better profit sharing. They're about to have ammunition, and that means production disruptions, strikes, work stoppages. The consumer awakening. Something interesting happens when companies get caught doing sleazy things. Consumers get smarter. Before this destination charge scandal broke into public consciousness, most buyers didn't think twice about that window sticker line item. It was just part of the price, necessary cost of doing business. But now people are asking questions, comparing destination charges across brands, demanding explanations from dealers, researching how far their local dealership is from the factory, and asking why they're paying the same fee as someone 3,000 miles away. Consumer awareness is dangerous for corporations relying on ignorance. Once people understand how the game's played, they start refusing to play. We're already seeing this manifest in online communities. Forums dedicated to truck buying are filled with threads about destination charges. YouTube channels are making videos exposing the markup. Consumer advocacy groups are filing complaints. The genie is out of the bottle. GM can't put it back. This will force change. Maybe not immediately, maybe not willingly, but eventually, manufacturers will have to justify these fees or reduce them, because customer backlash, once reaching critical mass, affects sales, and sales declines get Wall Street's attention real fast. The irony is GM could have avoided all this. They could have been transparent about tariff impacts, raised base prices modestly and honestly, maintained destination charges at reasonable levels. Instead, they chose short-term profit extraction. Now they're dealing with long-term brand damage. And Mary Barra, she'll be fine. She already cashed out. The choice ahead. So here we are. You're in the market for a truck. Maybe you need it for work. Maybe you've always driven domestic. Maybe you like the Silverado and genuinely want to buy one. What do? You could ignore everything we've discussed. Write it off as conspiracy thinking or corporate bashing or whatever makes you comfortable. Walk into that Chevrolet dealership, sign the papers, drive off in your new truck. Maybe you'll be happy. Maybe the truck will be reliable. Maybe the destination charges won't matter long term. Or you could vote with your wallet. Refuse to reward a company that hides price increases, whose CEO CEO dumps stock while raising fees, whose business practices suggest they see customers as marks rather than partners. You could walk across the street to Toyota or Honda or Ford if you insist on staying domestic. Buy from a company that's at least marginally more honest about pricing. The choice is yours, but it matters because companies only change when customers force them to. When sales drop, boards get nervous. When boards get nervous, executives get fired. When executives get fired, strategies change. If you keep buying despite destination charge gouging, GM has no incentive to stop. If millions keep paying inflated fees without complaint, why would they ever reduce them? But if customers walk away, if market share drops and inventory ages and dealers push back, then maybe, just maybe, someone in Detroit decides long-term customer relationships matter more than short-term profit extraction. They're betting you're not paying attention. Prove them wrong. Would you still buy a GM truck knowing the CEO sold 40% of her stock right after hiking destination charges by $600? Or is the trust gone forever? Let's hear it. This investigation opened your eyes to what's really happening in Detroit. Smash that subscribe button. We're exposing the dirty dealer fees nobody talks about and how to beat them at their own game.